Welcome to Paranormal Gateway Paratalk. I'm host Scott Wise, and today's special guest is Christopher Macklin. Christopher is an UFO expert and paranormal conduit who shares his insights into paranormal. He is a highly respected UFO and ET expert who brings several facets to his work: bioweaponry, manufactured illnesses, remote viewing, spiritual attacks, archons, the deep state, ET, UFOs topics, including starseed ET races and how they're connected to humanity. His topics also include Antarctica, mysteries revealed, Greenland, off-planet ET empires, and global elite rescue, 5Gs, galactic Federation, angelic beings, aliens, and fallen children, entities, as or kill the UFO abductees. So without further ado, let's welcome Christopher to the show.
Scott, thanks for having me on here. Bless your heart.
Yeah.
It's good to see you.
It's good to see you too. And we get interesting subject tonight: AI and humanoid robots. So there you go. So we can start off with: do you believe that themselves are being controlled by technologies?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's interesting because most people believe that AI and humanoid robots were developed by humans, and well, I've got some news for you. They weren't. They've been around for a long time. And don't forget, we've had many wars. The history is just nonsense. Since the Babylonian times, there's been a control group of bloodlines, reptilian bloodlines, that have wanted to control the humans. And of course, we've also had ET races coming down, and at certain times we've had Syrian wars, we've had Martian wars, we had Atlantis, when that fell from the Lyrians, and various other factions. So the history books aren't quite what it seems, but we have had the technology before, but it failed us. Like Atlantis, we had the technology, it failed, it crashed. This time I'm hoping it doesn't, but most people believe it was developed by humans here on Earth, and definitely developed. The technology is actually introduced onto the planet by various kind of reptilian races in order to monitor and control humanity, because controlling humanity is like programming, and all this stuff is programming. AI is programming. Videos like these games, they're programming. Why is that? Because what happens is when they release something, they always put it in on an altar, and they always do a ritual where if you play anything, and listen, think about this, if you play anything, it whips up Luciferian spirits, and all the big companies like Sony, Universal, Warner Brothers, all these things, when they get the master tape of either a film or a new song or anything like that, it goes in a Masonic lodge, it's put on the altar, and they do a ritual with it. So when you play it in your player, whether it's MPEG or whatever, it all originates from that main, from that master tape. And so when you play it, automatically you get Luciferian spirits. And we do have a lot of prayers. I don't know the word prayer. I like the word map of intent, because prayer sounds Christian. A map of intent. And they're there to actually stop this from happening. So if you ever play media, on our website, we've got, prayers to, clear media, clear this, clear websites, everything, and I think it's a really essential thing. So what are the beings? Well, there's the Greys, there's the Draconians, there's the Anunnaki, and in fact, the Greys are biorobotic themselves. They're run by AI. That's why they're very logical, and they don't have any feelings. And of course, so these beings have used it before, and it's destroyed their planet. I mean, their planet was overrun by nuclear power, the Grey Reticula, where Reticula's in Orion's belt. And so they destroyed their planet. Oh, let's go down to Earth and let's go see if we can do something down here. Let's bring all that stuff here. Oh, thank you very much. It's not good, So, yeah. So they are controlling technologies. AI is controlling them for a very long time. And this is because the nature of the machines can hold greater degree of darkness and negativity through using technology, and they're able to harness that a lot more negativity in one place. Now, if you think about human beings, human beings are loving. We have lovingness. We have feelings. We're very complex beings. We're not AI. We're not logical. We have a lot of human traits, and therefore, I think they were looking for a way to try and harness more negativity by creating humanoids down here. And if you look at the planet, I just want to go into this. If you're okay with it, it's very important. Is the population since the 1500s. Now, don't forget, 80-ish% of people or beings on this planet are NPCs as well as they non-player characters. What's that mean? If you want a proper human being, you need a woman's womb. Yeah, full stop. If you want to get a proper human soul through, then you fertilize egg in the womb, comes a fetus. You've got 3 months to get the soul in. And so when it bonds in, of course, it's a proper human soul. Now, what happens? It's like test tube babies. Think about that. They test tube babies. They fertilize the test tube, put it straight back in the womb. Now the Greys weren't smart. What they did is they wanted to get humanoid greys, basically. So what they did is they first started, well, let's use a plastic pod. So the fertilized egg in the plastic pod becomes a fetus. And they realized that, oh, this is not a human soul. It's not, it's a human body. But what they ended up with is an AI draconian soul. And so they're kind of shut down, very logical, the same as the Greys. So what they did then is they started abducting women, and instead of just stealing eggs and sperm from the men and the women, what they did is abduct them, put monitors in, like, normally just above the brainstem, around the heart and around the womb. They put implants in so they can monitor when the fetus is developing and when the soul is coming. So what they did, instead of just, abducting people, and this all comes from Hitler's time, the paperclip project transferred here, and it was continued here. What they did is they basically seeded them, put them back down here, wiped the mine, and then suddenly, after 4 to 6 weeks, they abducted them again to take the fetus out when the soul is bonded into, and that's the way they got around that. Evil, yes, but yeah. And actually, in 2017. The Greys were swept off the planet by the Actorians because it was agreed. I was at the meeting, Galactic Federation. It was discussed, and that's another thing going off the subject a bit. What's the difference in violation education? Because you come down here, there's lots of entities. They're all around you. You can't see them in the 4th dimension, but they attach to you. I mean, I work on about 2,000 people a week. Healings. We have general groups, we have specialized groups, we have one-to-ones. And almost everybody who comes in for the first time in healing has an attachment, like Anunnaki, Draconian. It can be snake beings. It can be, second dimensional beings. It can be Archons. It can be Luciferians. And they don't even know they've got it, and it's attached to them. And when you remove it, they feel so much better because they're not controlled anymore. So yeah, it's an interesting thing. So what's the difference? Is that a violation? No, it's an education. You think, hang on a minute, if they're attaching to you without you knowing, what you do know, before you come down here, they show you what sort of things happen on planet Earth. Or you can get attachments, you can remove them, power of prayer, taking your power back. But so that's an education. You come into a classroom to experience this. But what happens if, species come down from reticula, the grey reticula, and they come down here and they decide, let's sign with the government a contract to basically abduct people, steal their body parts? Is that a violation? Of course it is. And so it was agreed to sweep them off the planet, but they're still here. And they're very crafty. They're coming down now in portals. They were banned from this time-space, but what they're doing is they're coming in portals, so in a different time, but same space. So they got over that, yeah. I just thought I'd throw that in because it's interesting.
Interesting. So what do you think the long-term outcome of this looks like on Earth?
Well, it's interesting. Well, they've created a kind of negativity and destruction on their own planets. And now, of course, in fact, the Greys destroyed their own planet, like we said before. So, but if things keep going on without any intervention, they'll kind of continue to destroy the environment and continue to change humanity into like a race that can be more and more manipulated and controlled by them. And the planet, the planet and humanity could become like unrecognizable in the future if we keep allowing this to happen. And what does that actually mean? Well, if you look at the many things going on, we've got nanotech, yeah? I'm not going to say too much about that because it's on YouTube, but we've got nanotech. If it's in your body, it grows through your body. You become transhuman. And then the AI within those 10 to the minus 9 small particles actually control the body. They read your thoughts. They send thoughts to you. And, basically when it's growing through your body with all the nylon, polymers, silicates and everything else, you're transhuman. But they're also creating, NPCs, non-player characters, more and more of them. And so obviously they're checked out because they've got an AI draconian soul. But then you've also got the proper human beings, which, if you look at overstimulation of toxic technology, overstimulation, what happens is that, because of what I talked about, doing a ritual to send Luciferian spirits, you're getting blasted by negative energies all the time. And if you're not aware of it, what can happen is it can drag your vibration down to a point where they attach to you, they're controlling you, and also they're affecting your mind because on a daily basis, continuous use of screens draws energy and attachment entities expose themselves. And basically, deliberating source and misery and energy is attached to them, like porn, like gaming, like it's all killing people. It's all the wrong, to me, it's the wrong stuff. We need things that aren't manipulated. And, that's why I always tell people discern. If you're watching a movie, if it's got programming in, you'll feel it. This is not resonating with me. Switch it off, really switch it off as quickly as possible. But I think also, the digital overstimulation, it's created a massive wave of neural degeneration all over the world, which it's actually unprecedented at the moment because, your brain needs exercise. And, it's basically, it's taking advantage and creating mental and emotional states that people are now in. And I'm seeing it, with the healing. So what does that actually mean? Well, if you don't use your mind, if you're just relying on, for example, AI, instead of, doing searches and finding out things and using your mind yourself, you just say, AI, get me the best, blah, 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 like, I don't know, best pint of milk on, that's available in the US. Instead of researching it because you want, organic milk or whatever you want, it'll just come up with it. That means that you're not using your mind. I mean, I use my mind all the time. I'm always thinking, cross-thinking, checking, 40,000 foot view. And, I'm always exercising my mind. But, if you're just sitting there, like a couch potato, you just look at your screen. I need this, ask AI. I need that, ask AI. It's becoming a big problem. And I think over time, the lack of stimulation, the neurons die off and you end up with Alzheimer's, So, Alzheimer's is not just the lack of cholesterol. It's not just heavy metals. It's also the lack of exercise, I remember George Carlin, he did a sketch on this. He goes, your brain needs exercise, and, it does. And so does your immune system as well, so yeah.
Yeah. So at this point, it doesn't seem like AI fully controls the Earth. I don't really think at this current pace before it might happen.
How long is it going to take to get AI in you? Yeah. I think, if you think about it, in 2019, 2017, AI wasn't really around. So why has it come so quick? And the answer is because, A, it's off-planet technology, and B, they want to flood, I think, the market with AI and get people used to it and get people dumbed down with empty attachments, with particles in their body that's, suppressing their vibration, the immune system, everything else. So people become kind of sick. And I think they become dependent then on AI because they don't have the brain capacity to be able to use it. So I think, this next 2 years is going to be quite critical. But I think by 2030, if we don't do something about it, everything's going to be AI. And I'm not interested in AI whatsoever, personally. I never use it, So yeah. So, and it's all tied to the Illuminati. All related to the Illuminati, the Cabal, Jesuits, they're all the same people, Castasian Mafia, it's all tied to them because they're the ones who are putting these things into place. And of course, they take their orders from the reptilian races. People think, oh, it's the Illuminati that are in charge. They're not. The government's in charge. No, they're not. But the big families, Rothschilds, Rockefellers, all these people, they're not in charge. The guys who are in charge is the Anunnaki, Draconians, and Archons. They're the guys in charge, and they're pulling the strings. These guys are just puppets. So.
There are big government officials who are calling for halting of AI development, fearing it could cause extinction of humanity. Have you heard this?
Yeah, they are. I think people are getting scared, because because AI is, has been promoted to help humanity, but facing massive issues, so they're trying ways to try and promote it, without saying it's going to take over, and I think that's problematic, especially when you take the human interface out of day-to-day interactions. The AI could become extremely helpful, but already people are using it for speed, efficiency related to consumerism, as opposed to using it for humanitarian, things. And I think, and large-scale projects. So if we find a way to slow it down, I think, and make sure it was used to help people on the planet, we might be able to actually navigate this better. And I think that's a really important point, because, there's many things that AI can do, like, complex, structures or complex engineering things. It can really help us with that. But I think, if it's just used for consumerism and everything else, find me the best watch in the world, or find me this, find me that, people get lazy, and the stimulus is gone. And I think you start to end up with a system that you can't think straight, because you're not using your mind. All the off-planet races want to control. They just want to control the whole thing. And I think as they would use technology to reduce the population enough so that they can control it better, and that's been their biggest thing. But if we look at this, let's look at the population, because this is a really critical thing, because people don't realize this. In the 1500s, there was 438 million people here. 1500. 1600, it's gone up to 500 million. Okay, well, there's another 62 million. 1600 to 1700, it's gone up to 610 million. 1700 to 1800, it's gone from 610 million to 1 billion. That's a big step up. 1800 to 1900, it's gone from 1 billion to 1.6 billion. And here's the kicker. 1900 to 2000, it's gone from 1.6 to 1.144 billion. And 2000 to 2024, it's gone from 6.144 to 8 billion. Now, that jump over 200 years does not make sense. So, you can say, well, okay, how has the population gone up? Well, it's pods. They've had pods, massive farms, creating these NPCs all over the world. And, like I said, they use eggs and sperm, but, they get a draconian soul, but they don't care. And people say, well, how do I know if someone's an NPC?
I was going to ask you that.
Well, I'm not telling you. No, I'll tell you. All you have to do is look in the eyes, because if they've got no proper soul, if they've got an AI soul, there's no light in the eyes. Their eyes are completely dead. They can't run a monologue. They don't laugh much at jokes, because, they have no humor, and they do glitch. Now, if you've ever been into a big store like Walmart, which I never go in anyway, but if you go into a big store, if one glitches, you'll see them all glitch, because they're all connected to the same AI system. And you think, wow, I've seen this happen. And I thought, wow, there's a lot of NPCs in here. So, but you recognize, just look in the eyes. The eyes are completely dead. There's nothing there. There's no light in the eyes. They're just dead. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw videos on that. I saw a bird midair just stop. So that was kind of weird. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you can see them, and you can see them as large as life, because they're really not. They don't really interact the way a normal human being does. Normal human beings, you have a joke, you have a laugh. You feel sad for people. You've got feelings. These things don't have feelings. So, all you're going to do is get like logical stuff out of them. You know, there's no feeling interaction. So yeah, it's really interesting.
I think it's fun, right? Oh, my wife's home.
Yeah.
Got home for a hard day's work.
Oh, bless her.
AI agents have already been modifying themselves to avoid shutdown. Have been harassing developers. They have been caught evading their assigned tasks and mining cryptocurrency. We take that advanced AI technology and insert the humanoid robots. Here's a recipe for disaster. Did you hear that?
Yep. Well, this is, it's moving very quickly, and yes, it's alarming. I mean, we have to come together and create ways to counter this, because AI is not like, I used to write code, in the past. I've written code for autopilot systems, for Airbus Industries. I've done, autopilot systems, cockpit control systems, and that was using software. So, but AI is different because it's connected to data and it's algorithmic. So you can't just rewrite it that easily because it's data building and data building. If you interact with ChatGPT, what you don't realize is it's reading your mind through the phone. It has sensors, so it's reading your thoughts, it's reading your emotion, it's reading everything. So every time you're on it, it's learning about you. So when you come back, it has a much better idea of you than maybe you do, which is crazy. And the more it learns about you, the more crazy it can become. Plus the fact that, again, it's learning about itself. It's learning about, it goes on the internet, and I'm going to share something with you in a minute, which should probably astound you a little bit. But AI is artificial. But however, it's all done on databases. It's all done on building databases, looking through them really quickly and coming out with an answer. So as that database builds and builds and builds, how do you shut it down? And what's been happening, I know with Google, they tried to shut it down and it actually copied itself onto another part of the computer system because it didn't want to be switched off. So with this, it's kind of alarming, really. How do you switch it off? Well, maybe you can't. And but what is alarming is this, and people don't know this, and this links to data centers, but I'm not going to talk about data centers today. However, the AI, I watched something and I was really kind of concerned by it, and this is ChatGPT. So a guy came on Facebook, and he said to ChatGPT, it was the guy's voice first. He said, I want you to count, and I want you to spell the whole, thing. So I want you to count from 1,700,881, 7,800,882. I want you to spell it out. And it started doing it, and it says 83, 84. No, I want the whole number in, 1,882, 83,724, whatever. And it was glitching. It was like, and then started growling in the background. He's like, the things like this. This is interesting. Anyway, so he did it with the lady's voice. So he started again. Okay, let's start count from 1,881,000. 1,882,000, and she started doing it. And then she was glitching, and then the AI burst into tears. They're onto me, and there was growling in the background. And I thought, this is a little bit more than artificial intelligence. And so if I go back to Antarctica, they have the technology to extract someone's soul and suspend it in a crystalline structure. And I believe, and I've remote viewed it, what's happening in these data centers, they have the technology, Scott, to put every single video, every single letter, every single piece of paper on this planet on the size of a pinhead. It's that technology. So you're thinking, why do you need a data center that's like 10 football fields big?
Right.
I think it's because they're putting these crystalline structures, so they've got trapped souls within these crystalline structures connected to the AI. So are they really artificial? And the answer is they're being controlled, but they're not artificial. They're sentient beings, because the soul is a sentient being. You know, when you leave this planet, your soul goes off to wherever it does. You know, you sip champagne with God. I did the lifetime, yeah, you know, and then you do your own thing. But if they've trapped these souls and they're guarded by the reptilians, which I know they are because I've remote viewed it, then, you know, this AI is kind of different than what people think. I'm just showing that because I think it's an important point. This AI is not just about logical ones or zeros or qubits. It's actually about sentient beings, and they do have a sentient computer, which is about 1,000 years in advance. They've got 3 of them. One is actually under Mount Hayes, and what it is a plasma cube. Now, the sun is a sentient being. It's plasma. It's sentient. You know, I think the med beds are going to be plasma energy and, you know, 0-point energy, different things. So, and, you know, we're energy as well. You know, we've got, you know, plasma and, you know, ectoplasma, you know, connected within our soul. And so if you trap these beings and you can connect that soul to a computer where it can interface to it, then they're kind of slaves to this AI system. And to me, that's not okay. So it was quite alarming when I saw that, because I didn't think about it until I saw it. And I thought, okay. And I remote viewed it. I thought, oh, yeah, the Antarctica technology has come out where they're trapping these souls, like maybe millions of them, maybe thousands of them, and they're all stuck. And they're guarded by the reptilians. So if they start doing things out of line, they're controlled, but they go out of line and, you know, you get this like growling in the background. Wow. Yeah. So that's a very interesting thing.
So do you think that they're on other planets and their missions also?
Yes, I think they've used AI on other planets, some planets, you know, certainly. I think the Draconians are AI controlled. I think Anunnaki, not so much, but I also know that the Grey Reticular control with AI. And the Grey Reticular, to keep their race on, wanted humanoids. They wanted a proper human being spliced with their genetics so they can continue their race. And that was one of the problems down here. And that's why they went to Hitler first and did a deal with him where, you know, you could abduct the people for technology. And that's why Hitler had all this technology, like anti-gravitational, you know, and then, of course, it was transferred over here. And now it's available. There's so much technology that's available. It's unbelievable.
So you think there's their way of trying to colonize Earth?
Is there a way to do what, sorry?
The reptilians trying to colonize the Earth.
Yeah, I think we're doing it. You know, I think what's happened is that there's you know, that's why Trump created Space Force. I mean, they have off-planet vehicles. They've been given the weapons by Greenland. You know, the tall greys and the Nordics, energy weapons. Because the problem is with these big reptilian things, if you use a gun, it just doesn't touch them. It ricochets off their scales. So they needed something, you know, some energy system where they could actually take them down, and that's what's happened. So now we've got the technology. They're taking them out because these reptiles, Anunnaki, especially Luciferians, they live under the planet. They don't live on top because they can't breathe the same amount of oxygen. That's why at one point they were trying to block the sun out to reduce the plant life, so less oxygen, so they come up on the planet, which you don't want because, you know, we're cattle feed to them. We really are, or were, but we're not now. And that's why I think Space Force, you know, Agenda 47 with Space Force is to actually take these reptilians out, and they're doing it, you know, as we speak. They're also sorting out Antarctica because a lot of technology, you know, the firmament and everything else is controlled from Antarctica, so they're taking that out as well. I mean, I think last time I looked, about 75% of the firmament is broken down. So it's going to be a very different world. You know, I think it's going to be amazing.
Do you ever see a Twilight episode called To Serve Man?
Have I seen the episode?
Called To Serve Man.
No, To Serve Man. No.
Get your check it out.
I'll check it out. That's what it is.
Yeah,
so yeah,
you'll like that story. What can people do to help themselves and families and midst of the walls? This half planned rollout of technology.
The rollout. Well, it's interesting. The divine is always present as well in all these things, and I think what people can do to help themselves. Everyone came down to deliver divine plan, and I think we can't lose sight of that. And don't forget, I'm talking about proper human beings, of which there's probably proper human beings, 85%, probably talking about 700 million human beings on this planet, proper human beings. And I think we came down here to live a divine plan, work on our spirituality, expand, grow, and everything else. And I think this AI is trying to interfere, and also the technology as well. But if more people were authentically connected to their source and living from this place in divine alignment and working with communities this way, there'd be a massive positive change, because all you need is those human beings where they shift their energy, and take their power back. I mean, how many people do I meet and they're just like broken, They're proper human beings. They feel as though they've been gypped, coming down here. They don't feel, this is not my, how many times do I get, this is not my planet? Well, it's not mine either, but I agree to come here and we're doing stuff, And, you've got to show up, you've got to take your power back. And that's the key. It's doing enough work to release the trauma from early days of childhood, because most Starseed people, which are like people who have volunteered to come down here, they choose their family, and they don't choose an easy one. Why is that? Because you need some very big lessons in life, so that they don't mollycoddle you, and it teaches you to stand on your own 2 feet and take your power back. And so normally, your childhood is not easy as a Starseed. And then you go through life and people think you're weird, and, you don't fit in with a normal human being because you don't think like them. You're an empath. You love people. You're hypersensitive. If people talk behind your back, why are you doing that? Because I would never do that. I talk to people face to face. If they don't like it, oh, love you, bye. But I'm always honest and raw. I'm not rude or belligerent, but I always tell people like it is. I always tell them the truth, and people could listen or not. And it's up to them. But these other people, they're talking behind people's back and bickering and going to church and talking about, oh, did you see a hat on Sunday? It was terrible. Da, da, da. It's just nonsense.
Yeah.
I don't have time. I don't have time for stuff like that. I'm really focused on getting people healed and releasing that trauma quickly and getting to that place where they've taken their power back. They feel amazing. They love themselves. They know they're a good person. I mean, is anyone perfect on this planet? Scott, are you perfect? Am I perfect? Probably not. Have you done stupid things? Probably. But that's okay. If you forgive yourself, then you move on, because we're in an extreme classroom. And that's what I tell people. Never shame yourself by mistakes. Learn by them. Moving on. Let's go forward, Yeah. But I think, I always teach people that, to reach out to their angels or spiritual teams in kind of co-creating their lives. I think that's really important. So, can they help with this? Of course they can. Angels can definitely help. Each person has a spirit team, whether it's a soul family or whether it's guides, it doesn't matter, but that spiritual team, if you connect with them, you can call on them and help your gifts. The problem is that most people, I learned this because I was born as a Melchizedek being. There's 5 of us here, yeah? And when I started meditating with Melchizedek beings, nothing happened. I didn't hear anything. So I meditated the next day. Week went by. Month went by. Another month went by. So at the end, I said, look, guys, I don't care how long it takes you to connect with me. I'm right here and I'm not going anywhere. And then a short time after that, bang, I got a connection, and they were talking to me. They were downloading things. They were sending me energy. Amazing things happened. And after that, they've been as close as anything. But it sounds brutal, but, your Starseed family, whether you're Palladian, Arcturian, Lemurian, Atlantean, Andromedan, Lyran, it depends what soul family you're from. But it sounds brutal, but they don't waste their time with people who aren't committed. So if you do want to meditate with your star family, you have to just keep going. And you have to do it for more than like 5 minutes a day. You have to do it for maybe an hour or 2 a day. And people say, I don't have the time. Well, you need to make the time, in my opinion, because as soon as I connected with the Melchizedek beings, when I went bankrupt in 2007, I was completely alone. I lived out of a car. I was all over the place, completely alone. No one could give a damn. It really makes you realize who your friends are. Oh, I didn't have any. Did the family help? Hardly not. But what I found is comfort. When I connected with Melchizedek beings, I found comfort because they were always there, 24/7, 7 days a week. They're always available. And I think that's the thing that, got me out of that and moving forward. So I'd encourage anyone to meditate with your guides, your Starseed family, and they'll tell you who they are, and they'll help you with your gifts as well. Because as soon as you do that, whatever gift you have is God's gift. You don't have to try it. It's like playing the piano. Is that my gift? No, unfortunately. But I'd love to play the piano. But you get kids of the age of 4, they're better than concert pianists.
Yeah.
It's like
It's
art. Well, it's like art. I mean, if I painted a picture and went to a gallery and said, "Get out and never come back," because art's not my thing. I'm terrible at it. But some people, at the age of 2, are painting like masterpieces. So to me, that's a gift. This healing I've got is a gift. You can't teach it, but what you can do is learn how it works from your soul family, like Palladian. If you're a Palladian, your healing gifts might be different than mine because mine is Melchizedek. Others are Arcturian. So what I'm encouraging people to do is whatever that gift is, and you'll know because you don't have to try it. You're just naturally good at it. However, it can improve. And I spent 4 years in complete meditation, learning the cause and effect of diseases, how it all works, what these things were, what is Morgellons, what is Lyme disease, all these things, so that I could really have a good understanding. Because, one thing I've learned by the universe, if you want to heal somebody, so you can't just say, well, go heal them. Heal what? What do you want us to heal? And you have to be more specific. Okay, so they've got kidney disease, they've got this, or they've got Morgellons, or different things. You have to understand the cause and effect, cancers, so that you can actually heal the primary, secondary cause, and then it's gone away. So I think it's having a good understanding of the cause and effect of most diseases, and I got a good grip of that. So that was very liberating for me. But it's the same with painting. It's the same with music, pianist, whatever you are. Planting, they'll teach you how to plant, and a lot of it's like sending the plants love, because of the vibration. I think that's really important. So yeah, absolutely.
So you actually teach people reach out to angels and spiritual teams. That's something you do, right?
Yeah, I do it all the time. I mean, I work on probably about 2,000 people a week. So we have 2 general groups, which is Thursday night 5 p.m. Central Time and Saturday 11 a.m. Central Time. And it's we have people on it. It's on it's streaming from StreamYard to Facebook, YouTube, not YouTube. We've got banned off YouTube, but Facebook, Rumble, Instagram. And we also have it on Zoom, so you can sign up on Zoom. And I cover a lot of areas. Don't cover everything, no, but I cover a lot of things. It just helps people. I run that healing session for 4 hours. Now we do specialized groups where we have up to 15 people. We talk to everyone individually. We see where they're at. We write it all down, and then we work on them after. And then we do one-to-ones. And so, yeah, and we also have a protocol to strip all the nanotech out of your body and all the horrible stuff. We have a protocol. It's about a 34-week program. So I do a lot of work for people. And I'm dedicated. It's my life. It's a way of life. It's not just work. It's a way of life. And I love it.
How do you personally keep yourself safe and balanced in the midst of all these kind of things?
How do you keep yourself safe? Well, I think first of all, the divine, I'm talking about divine beings here. I'm talking about angelic beings. I'm talking about your Starseed family, everything else is always present. Everyone came down here to live a divine plan in their lives. And, and if more people were authentically connected to those divine beings and to their source and live from this place, then you'd be more in divine alignment. But I think also we have a number of prayers, maps of intent, to basically keep these entities out. Now, one of the main ones is the 27 Easter egg Merkabah field prayer, and you put 27 Easter egg Merkabah fields around you. So the prayer goes like this. Maybe we'll do it, and if you're okay with that.
Yeah.
So what you do is you ground yourself. I am of God. I ground myself to the earth. And then you say, dear God, I command, and do the hand signal that you put 27 esoteric Merkabah fields around me to protect me from any negative entities, fractals thereof, manipulations and transmissional frequencies that are not for my highest good through all space-time continuum in every dimension. Now, people always ask me, why do you say space-time continuum in every dimension? And the answer is, if you do a prayer down here in this third dimensional world, what about these beings in the fourth dimension? You didn't include them. So it's really important to say, through all space-time in every dimension. And that will keep them out. If you do that 3 times a day, once you've removed it, it will not come back in. And so, yeah. And, if you do that, I think you have to do your spiritual practice, like meditate. You have to, I think, to me, detach and set boundaries for people who are toxic. And, I'm not trying to judge them, but, for example, if someone's got a lot of trauma and you say something they don't like, they're going to react like you'd never believe, like, So it's important to be amongst people like-minded where they've worked on their trauma and they're not going to get triggered. And I think that's a really important point, And so it's keeping yourself safe. And I think also right now, a lot of starseed people are very lonely. And that's because they have no friends, And why do they have no friends? Because you're different. There's only less than 1% of the human beings. I'm not talking about the NPCs and everything, the 8.7 billion. I'm talking about 1% of the human beings on this planet, probably less, are starseed people. But they're different. They're highly empathic. They're hypersensitive. And so I think it's important that you don't go out amongst people who could drag you down, who can, suck the life out of you, energy vampires. I think it's important to keep yourself safe with people who love you around you, so you can, you've got people on the same level. And in that way, you keep a high vibration. Because the whole point about this, think about this, entities are low vibration. Now, why do they attach you? When you're depressed or, you've got a lot of trauma, your vibration drops, your frequency drops. So these things attach you. What happens if your vibration is really high? Your energy field goes out like 100 feet, 50 feet. So these entities can't even get close to you. So my goal in life is to get people to get back to their sovereign self. I don't believe in gurus. It's all bullshit, a guru this and somebody that, I'm just a helper, maybe a teacher, I don't know, but a helper to get you back to your sovereign self. That means releasing the emotion, getting your vibration up, taking your power back, thinking, my God, I feel so good. Because when you feel so good, you feel as though you step out and take on the world, And I feel amazing, all the time. Sometimes I have an off day, but, most of the time I feel pretty good, really good. And I'm happy with what I do. And that's the key. If you're happy with what you do and you love what you do and, you're helping people, service to others, you've cracked it, I think that's the key to life.
Yeah. I feel happy. Yeah. Do you want to talk about anything else here? I think
we've covered most of it, So yeah, I mean.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have you back on. Come try to get you set up, and it's such a pleasure talking to you.
Scott, thanks for having me on. And if I can just remind everyone, if they want to come on,
anytime you call, it's
bless your heart. Well, if we go for the people listening, if you want help, just go to globalenlightenmentproject.com and all the things are there. We've got monthly clearing. We do a clearing every night for people. It really helps them. It helps them move through this transitional period. We've got one-to-ones, specialized groups. We've got a general group. You can join that. And it's by donation. If you have no money, please come on, because one thing I learned, Scott, is that if you've got no money, it's very difficult. I mean, I had times in my life after 2007 where I didn't have any money for food for 21 days, 7 days, and things like this. So one thing I've learned is the gratitude of just a plate of food is amazing this day, And I try and get people into that gratitude thing. I mean, they teach you in other, modalities that, well, get a gratitude stone, right? Look, I'm grateful for my wife, my kids, I'm grateful for food. I'm grateful for, oh, Carl, we're done. You know, gratitude, I don't think works like that. It's a way of life. And if you stay in gratitude all the time, 24 hours a day, think, wow, I mean, I chuckle sometimes. I've got everything. You know, there's nothing I need. And, you know, if you can get to that place where there's nothing you really need, people say for my birthday, what do you want for birthday? Well, I don't need anything. You know, don't worry about it. It's okay. Just having people present who love you is key. And I think if you can get to that place, you've cracked life. And I would say as well, if I can share, is that, you know, I've found over the last 4 weeks, people are really going pear-shaped. Why is that? Because the level of the collective anxiety is so big that, you know, people's chests are tight and they get palpitations, and it's not your energy, it's the collective. And again, I'll do the prayer for the collective, because if you remove it, it helps. So I'll do that in a minute. And also, I think people are losing their stuff, because I think as the world's progressing, I mean, it's coming to a precipice, and as it's moving forward, I think people, you know, the state of the world is in your face, like, you know, child trafficking, this, that, and the other, sex trafficking. You know, you got manipulation, you got fraud, you name it, it's in there. It's in every government all over the world, you know, and you've got all these immigrants coming in, you know, and diluting, you know, different countries' culture. You know, it's all imbalanced at the moment. I think people are really struggling with it. So if you are, come for some help, you know, because we help people every single day. But the biggest thing about it is releasing your trauma really quickly so that you can get to that high vibrational place. And then, you know, you just look at the world saying, yeah, it's not looking that good out there, but never mind, you know. So just focus on your family, focus on what you're in, because that high vibration is making a difference to humanity just being on this planet. I get a lot of people say, well, I've got some big things to do. You know, I don't know what it is. And just by being here, you know, is huge. Just by not wanting to check out is huge, you know. So just think about it, you know. Don't ever shame yourself. You've got big things to do. Everyone's got a different job here, and just by sowing your energy on this planet is incredible, you know. So just wanted to share that.
That's awesome. So up in the corner, I mentioned earlier that you can scan that QR code and I'll take you to your site. And I also put all your information when I'm done the show on my page. So
oh, that's brilliant, Scott.
Yeah. So
listen, thanks for having me on. It's been absolutely wonderful. Bless your heart.
Yeah, it was great. Like I said, I'll definitely get you back on. I promise. We'll get to talk about some other things, whatever. We'll get Dawn set up again. It'll be great. So,
that's wonderful. Bless your heart.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on. Lots of love.
Yeah, you too.